the desert of the real.
Welcome to the Desert of the Real. I am your host, Ryan Hudson. And join with me, as always, is your evil Sith Emperor.
I don't know if I'd take that. Jason Deeds. Jason Deeds.
We are also joined with a special guest. You've actually heard him before in another episode, but it's first time he's here with us.
Yep, long-time listener, first-time participant.
Who are you?
I'm Mark Hudson.
Yeah, my twin is here. You know, true. Star Wars has a thing or two to say about twins.
Yes.
True.
At least.
In that horrible birth scene at the end of this movie, where she's like, "Oh, Luke. Oh, Leia." Yeah.
All right. The Desert of the Real is a movie podcast where I forced Jason to watch big blockbuster movies he's refused to watch because he didn't think they were worth his time. This is the first time he's seen Revenge of the Sith.
It is.
We're currently watching all the Star Wars movies in chronological order. We're two high school teachers. We teach English, film, philosophy, creativity, and we have graduate degrees, and we attempt to use our academic training to dig deeply into movies. We explore the creativity, philosophy, film studies, and ethics in our films and push you, the listeners, to think critically about your entertainment. Thank you for listening.
Yes, thank you.
You're here. It means a lot.
You made it through the Christmas special episode.
The three of you that listened to it.
Oh, three of them.
I don't know how many.
So it's you, my friend, and some mystery listener.
I did listen to it.
The Star Wars Christmas special does exist.
It was.
But we're happy you're here.
Yeah.
We're happy to talk Star Wars.
Well, we're happy you're here.
All right, so no joke, this one is a lot of people's favorite Star Wars.
I can see that.
And
I would say it's my favorite of the prequels.
It's definitely
100%.
Yeah, definitely my favorite of the prequels. It was certainly better than the first two.
Yeah.
The pacing is still just sad. Like I really wanted to like this one. I did.
Yeah.
But so like he spends like 20 minutes on spectacle fight stuff.
There's a lot of that in this one. Yeah.
And then like really, really important moments, they're just like boom, and then back to spectacle of fighting, which was honestly, it pissed me off. Because this could have been a magnificent movie.
What I think, and I think I've heard other people mention this on the interwebs, that there needed to be more time devoted to Anakin turning.
Yes.
Like another movie almost.
Yeah. I would have cut the first two sequels and made this one a 3-part movie.
Yeah.
And I think maybe there's, I don't even remember what significance
there
happens.
Is a little bit. There's this TV show called The Clone Wars that
we
takes place.
We do have to talk about that in this episode.
They do have instances of Anakin showing the dark side and like his like proclivity to like not choosing the light,
right,
and wanting to choose the people he loved over the ways of like just the Republic or the Jedi.
We had the sand people thing, but that's really it.
So that's why I say I'm not a big fan of the Clone Wars show. There are people who think it's the best Star Wars, but
I think the last arc of that show could have been its own movie and been really good.
Mm.
But I will say, if you do watch all 7 seasons of the show, I'm not telling you.
Ever.
Don't give me that look. I'm saying if you have, it does fill in some of the holes. Star Wars is I think you could say, the only successful multimedia story. It's not just movies, there's TV shows, but there's also books and comic books and video games.
Yeah.
And somehow they're all one thing for the most part.
Yeah. Fun fact about the animated show, the voice of Palpatine was Tim Curry for a while.
I love Tim Curry.
And then the last season it came back to Ian McDiarmid.
Oh.
So But a different guy did the first couple seasons. But Tim Curry
Curry.
did a solid, I think, season of it.
Cool.
Even Marvel, the comics and the cartoons are their own separate thing compared to the MCU movies.
Right, they're not tied.
But Star Wars is, I think, the only one. Like, if you want the full story, you could...
You have to go through all this other stuff to get to the full
You can,
story.
yeah. It's just there for you. And there are people who love it all.
Yeah. I read, I don't know, quite a few of the Star Wars books. And there are some of them that are really good pieces of literature on their own.
Yeah, Mark's read a lot of them.
Yeah. Some of them are not, but...
Well, they're not
agree.
canon anymore, so... Anyway, should we get into pros and
Sure.
cons?
Me? Oh, yeah, sure.
Then we'll get all the philosophical stuff.
Let's see. Palpatine is just magnificent. Like, he's on his way to becoming one of my favorite bad guys of all time. He's so good at playing both sides honestly better than any bad guy I think I've ever seen.
And it's actually been not until this rewatch I've appreciated him so much more. In hindsight, it makes me wish he was in the second movie more. Like,
Yeah,
he's barely
he
in that
should
one.
have been in all three of them a lot more.
Ooh, I have a question. Did you know Dooku was going to die?
I didn't, and that was actually like 5 minutes in.
Yeah.
And, like, Christopher Lee's gone. And,
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot to write down. Oh, no, I didn't. The biggest pro.
Okay.
Guess.
Well,
John Williams' music.
that,
No, that's
that goes
second.
without saying. Oh, that's like an umbrella thing over all of
This
these. Actually.
moment when frickin' Samuel L. Jackson
Oh my gosh! I can't believe I didn't see
flies
that.
out into space and dies. I
know?
cheered. I didn't know, and I was like, yes! That was probably really loud, but that moment right there was a full star for me in the rating.
know what?
That was so good.
You see him
Because
die.
he didn't know he was going to be a Jedi. He thought he was going to be like a stormtrooper, like a bad guy character. And George was like, no, you have a Jedi robe. And he gets there, says like, well, who am I? Like, you're like the second Jedi of the Order. Like, you're after
really?
Yoda. Like, he didn't even know going in.
Oh, wow.
Then,
Wow.
Samuel L. Jackson
So-
he's campaigning
Oh.
to be like, we didn't see Mace Windu die. He's still alive.
Oh,
he wants him to come back.
No.
And there was there was a fan theory that a later bad guy in the sequels was Mace Windu, but that's because we were just trying to grasp at everything at that point. Like, who's this? Is this Mace Windu?
So many fun theories when things were still happening.
When it was like fun to be a Star Wars fan. We'll get there, Deets.
Okay. We'll get to where it's
Next
fun
pro.
to be a... yeah, I mean, after that, there's really just...
Mace Windu dies.
The lighting, more so than any other movie, I noticed the lighting on Anakin is very careful. There's times when he's listening to the light and he's in the light, physically. That was really well done.
Yeah.
In the dark, when he's acting in the dark.
That's why when these movies came out, the prequels, like, oh, too much CGI, it looks bad and awful. But now, compared to the Marvel movies, it's like, yeah, but a lot of CGI, but look at the lighting, look at the color. It arguably looks better than some of the
more recent
movies, which
it was very, very good.
Because I will give that to George Lucas. He's really good at telling a story.
Yeah.
He does not have good dialogue.
No, the dialogue continued
But
to be
but
terrible.
his visual storytelling is very on point.
Yeah, I agree. The Order's 66.
Yeah.
That whole 15 minutes was just chilling. It was so good. So this movie had a lot of moments that I'm like, dang, that is awesome. I loved Palpatine because you can see just how good of a bad guy he is.
Yeah.
Because he's trying to be, or he is. He's succeeding in being like, poor Anakin, I'm your grandpa or your dad or whatever, and you can cry on my shoulder. The whole time he's just twisting his brain and manipulating him. So good. The final fights looked really good, except for the volcano planet.
Mustafar.
Whatever, that's stupid. Do you know how hot lava is? Do you know if you were literally standing on a little platform above an entire lake of lava?
It had a force field.
Yeah, do you
The
see that force
platform
field?
did. They didn't.
They were above the platform with the force
all
field.
of that was stupid. It could have gone... and then he burned, like, okay, then why did he catch on fire?
Because of the heat of the lava.
Oh. Huh. Really? Okay. So, that was stupid. Actually, this is supposed to be pros. The final fights were really good.
Yeah.
Yoda and...
Sidious.
Sidious, that was a great fight. It looked much better than the one against Dooku.
Yeah. Like, it says, it's amplified. It's the same idea, but way bigger.
But like, that whole final fight between Anakin and Obi-Wan was so long. Like, they could have used some of that time to, like, develop his transition to the dark side. I don't know. And then the whole start of the movie was, like, 20 minutes of them flying around in a spaceship that had absolutely nothing to do with anything at all?
All right, pause.
Other than
Pause.
it looks good.
Okay,
it looks good.
I do have... So, every single Star Wars movie, well, like the episode, start with space. You see a spaceship.
Sure.
This is easy, the most colorful.
Yeah.
But
it
here's
looks good. I said it looked good.
They're the big battle above Coruscant. I don't know if you knew this. The whole planet's a city.
Sure.
But it's doing storytelling without you realizing it. These two ships flying in sync, like they're doing spins the same. It's showing Anakin and Obi-Wan, they have been together this whole time. They're just in sync together.
Sure.
It's doing storytelling.
Okay. But we take that... great. I accept that. We take that 15 minutes, and we take 10 minutes out of the Anakin Obi-Wan. That's 25 minutes that we could then much more carefully move Anakin from the light to the dark. But, I mean, they've taken by themselves, they looked really good.
Well, fun fact about this movie, they actually filmed enough footage of them saving Palpatine to be its own movie. So they actually had a lot more scenes with Palpatine, like, trying to influence Anakin with Obi-Wan there that they cut for time.
Why?
For time.
Yeah, I don't know.
So of the things to cut, that was the wrong thing, George. So, anyhow.
Yeah.
They had the whole scene when, like, Palpatine's like, leave him or we'll never make it. Anakin says his fate will be the same as ours. Like,
right.
Like, that was right after another big scene with, like, trying to manipulate Anakin when he kills Dooku.
Yeah.
Which is mirrored later in the story, which we'll get to later. But
it would be a little bit better if we just got more Anakin in the prequels, slowly turning.
I 100% agree.
We could have cut out some of the episode 1, probably.
Yeah.
The pod racing looks amazing, but it did nothing for the plot.
It is cool.
Yeah.
It is cool, but it does nothing for the plot.
I agree.
But yeah. There should be 2 movies in this one movie.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Anyway.
Order of Pros, Samuel L. Jackson's dead. Palpatine as a whole.
Yeah.
Those final fights, and then, like, the birth of Vader has to be one of the greatest moments in cinema. Like, that whole, like he's burning, and Palpatine comes, and you can see Palpatine is super happy that, like, this has happened.
Yeah.
He's like, and just the evil of that, and then, assembling him, and him, the helmet coming, and the first breath. That was like, this is the first Star Wars movie that we've watched, so I'm getting chills talking about it several times.
And then
you
get the very
marvelous.
infamous.
No. Yeah, whatever that was. That was terrible.
I would have preferred a guttural, like, growl, like he's angry at the world.
Oh no! How sad!
Oh well.
You know what? It's come full circle. Or we were 10 years old when we saw this, and as a 10-year-old, I was like, oh, that's not as cool as I thought it could be. But now, as a 30-year-old, I'm like, yes. The awkward long no. I need it.
No. Anyhow, a lot to love in this one.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
So,
let's see. I got.
Is that all your pros?
I like that Anakin says our baby is a blessing. I really like that. I love babies. I love kids. I have a lot of them.
Anyway.
Wait. I also really liked Grievous's lightsaber warm-up
Can
thing.
I?
That was so awesome.
I needed to ask you, did you have any idea that this character had 4 arms?
I didn't even know who this character was.
That is insane. Isn't that so cool? That there's someone in this world that didn't know Grievous had 4 arms. That's just so cool to me.
Also,
here's
why
the thing.
is he hacking and breathing? He's a
He's
robot,
got lungs.
isn't he?
Didn't you see Obi-Wan open
Yeah.
up?
So he is a cyborg. So he's just a bunch of organs in a metal suit.
He's got
So
eyes.
he just has lungs
So
and
the
eyes.
Essential organs.
The
yeah.
purpose
Okay.
is George Lucas wanted all the villains to be a symbolism of a part of Vader. You had Maul be like the dark side, like assassins, like Sith Lord.
Sure.
You had Dooku be like the leader, the cunning, the intelligent.
Yeah.
Then you had Grievous, who was very robotic, and like so combine those parts of all together, you get Darth Vader.
Huh?
So basically, every movie had a villain that was part Vader until you get Vader.
Now we have
Do
Vader.
you kind of wish there was just one villain, though, the whole time? Like, think if Maul didn't die, and it was Maul in this one. Oh, I don't know.
Maul would be a really cool villain because the books, he's great, and they've developed his character beyond that.
Maul is a cool character, you know? He looks cool. Grievous looks cool. A lot of cool looking characters in this series.
I just noticed one last pro. The aging of Palpatine or whatever it happened to him, that was on point.
Yeah.
That was really well done.
Because at first you're like, he's all wrinkly, and then he puts the hood on.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he's the Emperor.
Like, he's that guy.
He's exactly like the Emperor.
Yeah, that was really cool. That whole... that was another moment that should have been much, much longer. Like that whole fight and the whole Anakin coming in.
I know! At 10 years old, I was disappointed.
It was like a minute and a half
buckle
long.
up, we're getting in.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to see this fight.
Samuel L. Jackson died.
I remember...
a Jedi Master versus a Sith Lord. Like,
Right.
we want to see that.
Like 4 Jedi Masters. And
Yeah,
then they
that
die
was-
in
they
It's
die in seconds.
very disappointing.
No,
Yeah.
there is actually, they showed a lead scene, the fight was much longer with the stunt doubles, but George Lucas wanted the real actors to do their own stunts, and, you know, Samuel Jackson and Ian, they're just a bit older and can't do some of the stunts
That
they
one
want to
is
do.
a letdown.
So they
though.
did cut that so they can do their own stunts.
I am the Senate.
That was a bad choice. And then just the like that switch of Anakin. Like he's in there. What have I done? Yes, I swear
Okay,
allegiance
no, all right,
to you.
pause. All right, I have things to say about this. Okay, this is actually a good part. Sidious is betting it all on Anakin.
Right.
He's like, help me, I can't hold
I'm
on.
so weak.
But, like, he's not.
Right.
In fact, when he goes, unlimited,
Yeah.
he had the situation under
I know.
control.
Yeah, I got that. That's good.
And when Anakin's like, what have I done? It's not like, oh, why did I cut off? I made the choice. I chose Sidious. Like, what have I done? Like, there is no going back now. I mean, there could have been, but he doesn't think there is. I think that moment is, I guess I'm here now. I guess I'm doing it. That's how I read it. And I think it's actually a good moment.
But what makes that point even more brilliant, because earlier in the movie, he has the exact same situation with Dooku.
Right.
When Palpatine tells him, do it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not the Jedi way. And then he does it.
Right.
And it's like, okay, no, I did the right thing. This is he was the villain kind of thing. And then it's repeated in the movie again when Palpatine says, help me do it. And he makes the same kind of choice. It's like, you know, he's being manipulated by Palpatine the entire time.
That's true, I guess. It felt really just
quick,
unsatisfying. Yeah.
Because
way too quick.
Right after the movie came out 10, Ryan got the book from the library, and the book version of the movie, it has a little bit more instances with Palpatine trying to manipulate.
Oh, see, little things would have been.
Palpatine needed Anakin to make the choice.
Right,
He
I
needed
understand why it happened, and it was great.
Yeah.
It was just, it felt really just like, oh, okay. We didn't want to write any more there, so I guess we'll just move on. I don't know. But on the whole, there's a lot more good than negatives, I would say.
Yeah. This one's really good. Like Anakin, the very beginning when they're flying ships, the clones are getting killed. I'm gonna go help them out. That tells us so much about Anakin. He is the guy, like, he wants to help, basically, and that bleeds into he's willing to do whatever for his loved ones type of thing.
Okay.
Also, the Wilhelm scream while we're at it.
It's in every single one.
Did you know the Wilhelm
it's in
scream?
every movie ever, I think.
All right, here's the thing, listener. Before YouTube and stuff, my brother, we picked that out like, what is this scream? We didn't know it had a name. We didn't know the name. But we're like, this is in all the Star Wars and Indiana Jones.
Lord of the Rings.
Like, we just knew before any internet person had to tell us because we watched these over and over. Nowadays, you're watching TikTok. Like, did you know about the Wilhelm? Yes, I did. You don't need to tell me. I think it's pretty clear Obi-Wan knows about Anakin and Padme. I think it's clear, like, that he's aware of them.
Yeah.
And one of the most painful things is I think Obi-Wan would have done something, but Anakin would not ask.
Yeah.
I think that bleeds into the tragedy of this movie.
Yeah.
Above and beyond, my favorite thing is probably John Williams' score.
Yeah,
I think of all the Star Wars scores, this has more tracks I just go back and re-listen to than any other of the movies. Yeah. Like Anakin's Dark Deeds when he's just like
killing the kids. Yeah.
And then with like the immolation scene when they're just wiping out the Jedi, you have Battle of Heroes.
That scene. Yeah.
They had a repeat of Duel of the Fates with Yoda fighting Sidious. Grievous's themes are actually really cool too.
Dun 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 dun. Okay.
Of all the Star Wars movie albums, I go back to listen to this one the most.
And you know what? It would have been easy to do Darth Vader's Imperial March when he's marching into the Jedi Temple, but they don't. They do something else, and it's
like a modified Star Wars theme.
Yeah,
if I remember right.
Really cool.
It's like
it's a march that's kind of like the Separatist theme, but more like with the music, like the instruments of what the good guys have been the entire time. So
right.
Oh, so there's
this mix of that was really cool, but. What did you call it when the Order 66? What is that?
The song's called Immolation.
Yeah, that made that moment so like I'll probably never forget it having watched it the first time.
You just get the strings and the lone voice
and the music and just the utter betrayal and it was fantastic.
And we talked about in episode 2 how their love story should have just been cut down for just like glances and all subtext. They do a great scene in this movie. Anakin and Padme are looking at each other across a city. And it's like, we don't need dialogue. Like, there's a lot being said without being said.
Yeah.
So
this goes back to George Lucas knows how to good visual storytelling.
Right.
Dialogue, not good, but his visuals are just like, he's thinking of her, she's thinking of him. You know what's going on.
That's why he's doing the thing he does. It's for her. It's just looking at each other.
And above that, like, Hayden Christensen, the guy playing Anakin, when he's not talking, he looks the part. When he's evil, he looks evil.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, he's just,
I wish this is where they would have started. Like, I don't...
Like the whole saga?
Like the whole prequels?
Yeah. Maybe a little bit...
Yeah, that's
out of the first two, but
because there's actually I found an edit. They basically, they made episodes 1 and 2 flashbacks in episode 3, and they cut like a 3.5 hour movie of episode 3 with flashbacks of 2 and
that would be pretty.
That would be
There's
awesome.
a cut of that on YouTube I watched. I'm like, that was actually pretty like good emotional storytelling because you got like why things happen still, but.
Did you like it when Obi-Wan jumped down and goes, "Hello there"? General Kenobi.
Sure.
A call back to when Alec Guinness first saw R2-D2. Hello there.
Hello there.
I don't remember that, but...
So now next time someone says, "Hello there," you go, "General Kenobi." that alone is the birth of so many memes.
Hello there.
Ewan McGregor was in a movie called Christopher Robin where he was adult Christopher Robin and he sees Winnie the Pooh. Hello there. Anyway. Okay, I love watching it now, understanding things better, because as a kid I'm like, oh, the Separatists, bad guys.
Right.
They just wanted to be their own thing. Palpatine didn't want them to win. They're not, oh, the bad guys are winning, I'm evil. No, he wanted He wanted to get to the point where he could declare himself emperor.
Right.
And in Star Wars timeline, like, how old is Luke in New Hope?
Like 18.
He's like 18 probably, and then by
20.
Return of the Jedi, I don't know, a couple years older. He succeeds for roughly 25 years.
Yeah.
He put himself in charge of the whole galaxy.
I mean, like, but that whole scene with Palpatine, that's a highlight for me when it's like, when he's taking over the Senate as a galactic empire.
That was
and then Natalie Portman's like, it's kind of corny, like, so this is how democracy dies.
With thunderous applause.
Thunderous applause.
But in history, you could see things like that.
Yeah, no, like, it's a great moment. The dialogue, could be, I wish, was a little bit better. The point lands.
That line, though.
I know, that point does land. Yeah. It's just kind of a corny line, but...
One of my big cons is Padme doesn't have a lot to do. What would she do? Well, here's the thing. There are deleted scenes that you can watch. She's with other senators unhappy with the situation with the war and stuff. And it's not a lot, but it's basically letting her build what will eventually be the rebellion. And then, Organa, who adopts Leia, eventually being one of the main rebellion leaders and stuff. So it would have been the birth, like the spark that would eventually set off.
That would have been smart.
It would have been more. And
it would have been a foil. She's kind of beginning the rebellion while he's kind of beginning the empire.
Yeah, that would have been a cool foil.
That would have been awesome.
Whatevs.
I don't know. They robbed her of all her power about halfway through the last movie. So there wasn't.
Her shirt got cut in half, the belly shirt.
Well, that and among other things. Anyway. As soon as she just became Anakin's love interest.
Yeah, that's the thing. I like the prequels, warts and all type of thing. I wish things were better, but at the same time, it's your ugly stepchildren in a way. It's like...
But with this movie, this could have been the best one.
Yeah.
Better than New Hope, it could have been the best one. There's so much power in this.
Yeah, that's why fan fiction is big in its circles.
Did somebody rewrite this?
I'm sure
correctly?
all of this has been rewritten many times by many people. Anyway, so I have pros or cons.
I have some cons. Padme's death is absurd.
Yeah.
The whole birth thing is absurd. Like, that's all. Like, having attended a number of births, that's not how it doesn't go like that.
Yeah. I don't know.
But maybe they used the Force. That seems to be the excuse for every flaw in this. So it's the Force. So maybe they forced out the kids, just and out they come. And
all right,
and she's like,
Luke. It's not that. Okay, now
this is Luke. This is Leia. I'm dead.
Okay,
this is not.
I'm just saying. Like, it was, like, she died of what?
A broken heart, Deets.
That's not a thing.
It is. Well, it happened in Star Wars. So.
Or like at the start where like they're going to rescue Palpatine and the whole fight, which was pretty cool, and then he's got Dooku down, and Palpatine's like, kill him, and Skywalker is like, no, I guess I will. Like, there's no moral dilemma there. There's just this little Play-Doh brain guy that just kind of does what he's told, I guess.
No, he didn't want... Anyway, Mark already mentioned it. It sets up the next thing.
It's so, like, just pacing.
Hold on. No, but he's like... Oh, wait. Whoa.
I mean, it's supposed to show how much Anakin has in stake with Palpatine, how much he has him as, like, a mentor, as someone who supports him.
Right.
It's like, if he's telling me to do something, it's probably not a bad thing because he supported me my entire career as a Jedi.
But and then what Palpatine...
But he knows it's not right.
But okay, anyway, but like it's all about the manipulation, which we'll get into in a little bit. He says it's only natural. He cut off your arm, and you wanted revenge, but that doesn't make sense.
That's not a Jedi thing.
I know, but Anakin Anakin's not stopping to think about that.
I mean, at this point, we've already seen Anakin not do Jedi things in the previous movies. So.
Pathos versus
Exactly.
Logos rears its ugly head again.
There is a great moment in the novel version when, from Dooku's perspective of this moment, Dooku realizes when he says, "Do it." Like, oh, I have been a pawn, and I didn't realize it till just this moment, basically.
I wish that would have, because Christopher Lee could have pulled that off. He's a great actor.
Which would have been great if he was in the second one more, you know? Anyway, go on. Any more cons? Or
No, I think that's it. Pacing, dialogue, and birth. Those basically are... and volcanoes.
A pro I missed is the sound design I actually really like in this movie.
Yeah, there's great... All of these prequels have cool sounds. Like,
I mean, because even that scene where like he kills Dooku and Palpatine says like, "Remember what you're talking about the sound people." You hear the sound people in the background do like their war cry. If you don't really notice it until you listen for it, but there's like subtle sound design in this movie too that just really add to a lot of scenes.
Oh,
the sound of the giant lizard thing is cool.
Yeah.
The sound of Grievous's getaway motorcycle is cool.
Yeah.
The sound of like the airplane ships that sound like there's just cool sound in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Arguably the best, like the most iconic sounds in any movies.
Yeah.
That's probably very true. Like the lightsaber hum, you got like the blaster noise.
Darth Vader's breathing.
Yeah.
So the cons would be like the dialogue. They
Pacing.
didn't show a lot of the character development that you have to assume is there.
Yeah.
Look at us. We agree on a lot of stuff.
Fun fact, Liam Neeson was supposed to make a cameo as Qui-Gon Jinn.
That would be sad.
But couldn't because he had a motorcycle accident and broke his leg.
Oh, okay.
So, but there is
That's divine intervention.
There is a actual voice cameo if you listen for it. So that's also
Of
in the
Liam
sound
Neeson?
design of Liam Neeson.
Yeah. Well, he does have a great voice.
Yeah. Okay. So I have a few just film studies stuff, I guess. There's a lot of CGI, but there's also a lot of miniatures in this. In fact, the lava planet, they made a huge miniature with like actual like liquid lava on the miniature, and they're lighting like below the lava to make it glowing and stuff. That's like a practical thing, which is really cool. So there's still craft in the
I would not have thought that.
Yeah, which is really cool. I also want to point out something. In 2005, when this movie came out, another movie came out. I remember seeing all these clones in one room. Like, they look like video games or whatever.
You're talking about iRobot?
No, I'm talking about Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, baby. Tim Burton.
Okay.
Came out the same year. And I remember watching the behind-the-scene featurette. They had the one Oompa Loompa. He did every single dance in every single spot individually. And that's why, like, Tim Burton's like, I'm not doing this movie unless you pay this actor whatever $1 million, which is cool on Tim Burton's part.
That is.
And as an effect, that has aged significantly better. The individual Oompa Loompas dancing and doing all their things versus seeing the clones CGI'd, duplicated on the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just cool. I mean, it's not one worse than the other, I suppose, but one looks better now, though.
All right. Well, here's something you might have noticed. So basically, within Star Wars, Anakin Skywalker basically loves 4 people: his mom, Padme, Obi-Wan, and Sidious, the Palpatine.
Right.
He loses 3 of them. The last thing all 3 of those people say to him is, "I love you." His mom and Padme said it before Padme got choked, and then Obi-Wan said, "I loved you," and then walked away.
Right.
So basically, the last thing Anakin hears from people he loves is that they love him, but then they die.
Right.
And in such case, Obi-Wan died to him, kind of thing.
Right.
Which is a very, kind of a tragic... Darth Vader's a tragic character. We know that. So I think that's just more George Lucas hammering in how tragic this character is.
Deets, I have a philosophical question to ask you.
Excellent.
What if someone that you loved or even respected asks you to do something that you felt was wrong? What do you do? What if it's someone you respect?
Like, I have no problem saying no.
You don't.
I personally don't. So if I personally do not believe it's the right thing to do, I'm not going to do it.
But that's the best case scenario. But I think a lot of people would struggle with that.
Right, and an earlier me would definitely have struggled with that. An earlier me has done things that I knew were not how they should be done because someone I respected asked me to do it. So,
because remember, Anakin Skywalker is 25 in this
right,
movie.
me 25, yes, I certainly would have.
Because that bleeds into it, like, oh, spy on the Jedis. The Jedi's like, oh, spy on Palpatine. And it's like, oh, well, I don't feel good doing either. And
right, that was another moment I wish was, like, a lot longer.
Yeah.
That's just the tragedy of this movie.
Yeah, kind of all the prequels in a way. I wish this was better.
No, this is a good movie.
Yeah.
Just it needed to spread itself out more.
Some scenes need more time to breathe.
Yeah.
Like the scene with Palpatine's, like the Darth Plagueis the Wise, that monologue, that had time to breathe.
Yeah, that was
very
beautiful.
memorable. But a lot of other these tiny moments needed a little bit more time.
Yeah.
But I just think that's an interesting question to think, like, for the listener, like, what
It
if
is.
your boss has you do something?
Right.
Or
Let's
I don't
ask
know.
you, Ryan.
See, I don't know. It's
So if I'm being honest, I think a lot of it has to do with not necessarily age, but position in life.
yeah.
If you are secure in yourself and where you're at and your position, I think it's much easier to say, no, I'm standing on what I believe. But if you're in a shaky position or in a, like you don't know about the future, you don't know about your career or whatever it is, I think it's a lot harder to say no.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily a character flaw. It's, I think, more of a, where are you personally?
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
That's a good answer.
If you were in the mentor role, seeing the person you're mentoring in this
Making
predicament that Anakin's in, like making these kind of like life-altering decisions, not to the stage of like murdering people like in the
Right.
movie, but
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I am in that position. I have a number of children that are making choices that I'm like, what are you doing? So I guess my answer to that would be you just continue to love them, make sure that they know that you love them, and continue to counsel them, but ultimately
See.
making their own choices what life's about.
Yeah.
That's where I've arrived as a parent. So I don't know how that would work for Obi-Wan. I mean,
But that's like going back to when Qui-Gon died. If Qui-Gon would have survived, I don't think Anakin would have turned evil. He'd have been a proper father.
yeah, perhaps.
Because in Attack of the Clones, Anakin says multiple times, he's the closest thing I have to a father. But in this, he's like, we're brothers.
Yeah, brothers, yeah.
And that's not, most Jedis don't have that relationship. It's more master-apprentice.
There were multiple places he should have stepped in earlier.
Yeah.
Like, he should have prevented the love, because that's not what Jedis do, apparently. They aren't allowed to love people or whatever. If he would have prevented that, all of this would be a moot point. And apparently he knew about it, I guess. I don't know.
The cartoon explicitly makes it clear
He
that
knew?
he knew.
So if
That's one
he
of the
would've-
things I actually like the most about it. It's like he just needed to ask for
well,
help.
and a foil in the animated show, Obi-Wan had a love interest earlier in his life that he runs into later. It's like, no, Obi-Wan stayed with the Jedi the way, like, never deviate from the Jedi way. And he sees Anakin not doing it, but, you know.
So I don't know, I guess being the mentor is about having to say the hard things.
Yeah.
And demand the hard things and do the hard things. Even if he'd say, you can't do this, and Anakin's like, well, I'm doing it anyway, and then Obi-Wan's like, okay, well, I can't train you anymore.
Yeah.
All of this wouldn't have happened.
But Anakin, he needs accountability, but he needs to be accountable to himself. He can't have Obi-Wan telling him what to do every single step of the way.
Yeah.
Alright, I have another question for you.
Okay.
Palpy.
Oh, good old Palpy.
He says you gotta understand the dark side and know all about the Force. Think about, I don't know, anything you want to understand. You need to understand all aspects of it to truly?
Well, I think there's a difference between understanding and immersing.
Ooh.
What Palpatine is suggesting in that line is that he immerse himself,
Yeah.
not that he understands it. So, is he right? With the words he says, yes, I think he is. With what he actually means, no, I don't think he is.
That's a good distinction. Like, 'cause even think like political issues, things you agree with or not agree with, you can understand both
Right.
sides.
So, like, when we teach argument in English class, you have to understand their arguments well enough to take them apart. So that is true. But that's not what Palpatine means, even though that's what he says.
Yeah.
Which is definitely how he communicates.
And that's...
He means a lot of things that he doesn't say.
Right.
Yeah.
And, like, that's how people manipulate people in real life.
Yeah.
They use part of the truth.
Yep, for sure. Like the whole idea that if you haven't experienced something, you can't really judge it. That's kind of what he's saying here, and I think that is not true at all. Like, you can judge the value of heroin, for example, without having experienced a heroin trip. You can recognize, oh, that's probably
A bad
not
thing.
a good thing. So I think that's a intellectually bankrupt argument. You have to experience it. How do you know if you haven't experienced it? Well, some of us think, I guess. Like, it's an incredibly powerful manipulation. He's just so careful, Palpatine is, and just the little wormings and the little tweakings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I haven't appreciated that until this podcast. All right. Mark mentioned earlier what the different bad guys in the prequels represent. Like, how they...
Yeah.
But Grievous is kind of a unique bad guy, because his name is literally General Grievous.
Right.
So Grievous, the dictionary definition is causing or characterized by severe pain, suffering, or sorrow.
Yeah.
So Grievous is a good foil to Palpatine, because Grievous doesn't hide his evil. Kind of like Maul, he just looked like the devil,
Right.
But Grievous, he doesn't pretend to be something he's not. He's
Right.
not supposed to be anything good. He doesn't have any honor, any integrity. So that's why, like, his ship is tucked away. He's like, that's my getaway in case I need it type of thing.
Yeah.
He will run away. He doesn't care about what anyone thinks. He is going to be evil. Palpatine's not that way. He's a different type of evil. He is an evil that is secretive and hiding. So my question to you...
One might say he's a more insidious evil.
Exactly, right.
To bring up a small moment from one of the books, it's a Maul book. From Maul's perspective, it's like, when I was young, my master took me in front of the Jedi Temple, and we watched, and he named all of our enemies as they walked by us, and none of us knew we were there. I'm like he's in the shadows. He's the insidious power. Yeah. Like, just a cool character.
Yeah.
Very cool character.
So Dietz and Mark, my question to you is, what's worse? Someone being outwardly evil and bad, boasting about doing bad things, or someone that does bad things secretly, like on the inside? What's worse?
Well, my mind went to, like, the more extreme. I was thinking of, like, Hitler, because I think he might be this generation's, like, big bad guy we think of.
Everyone goes to Hitler.
Like, I mean, 2020 hindsight, we know how evil he was, but in the time, people didn't know about the Holocaust.
That's
right.
Yeah,
I mean, people said it was happened, but people didn't believe him. So would you call that a secret thing happening, or would you say that's boastful? Because if you believe, like, oh no, he's doing this in secret kind of thing, that's pretty evil, wiping out a bunch of people and no one knows about it. So I would say, like, something you don't know is happening could be the more evil.
Yeah, I would agree. Because if it's visible, it's stoppable.
That's a good point.
Like, if it's visible, you can attack it or, whatever. But if you don't know it's there, it's like cancer.
I mean, just going to your question, because I just watched a movie about the Armenian genocide, and it's like, there are governments that don't acknowledge that happened. And it's like, well, when it was happening, they wouldn't let reporters report about it. So I mean, like, so this thing's happening and no one's getting allowed to know about it. That seems very insidious of this power that people are using.
Yeah.
So back to your question.
I mean, even in this movie, they're like, we just need to kill Grievous. As soon as we kill Grievous, the war can be over. So you're right. If you can see it, you can stop it, type of thing. They didn't know about Palpatine. All right, think about Anakin. He just needed patience the entire time, and it brings it up multiple times. Obi-Wan Kenobi, before they say goodbye, says, because he's mad about not being a master. To be on that council and not be granted a master, it's unheard of. Obi-Wan says, just be patient.
Right.
And everything would have worked out.
Yep.
Mace Windu says, just wait there. Everything will work out.
Like, he's wanted to be there the entire time, and he's waiting for them. And once he do, he leaves it.
Yeah.
Over and over again until the very end. It's over, Anakin. I have the high ground. You underestimate my power. Don't try it. If he would have waited, he probably could have. Anyway, it's just a continuous thread. A motif, if you would. This failure to learn this one crucial lesson.
Yeah.
The actor who plays Anakin has been asked to death about all these movies, but he has said in one of the conventions, it's like, why did Anakin jump, you know? Like, why did he...
Try to jump over Obi-Wan to continue fighting.
Oh, okay.
When he had the high ground.
The guy who plays Anakin has said his headcanon, like, why did Anakin think he could do that, is because Anakin knew how Obi-Wan defeated Darth Maul. He jumped over Darth Maul to slice him in half. So his explanation for, like, why the character would do it is, I can do what my master did. So it was his hubris that brought him down in the end. Anyway.
That made sense.
Just a small note, because Ryan brought up that Anakin's wearing black. He wears white in episode 1, gray in episode 2, and black in episode 3.
That's cool.
Showing his slow descent to the dark side.
That's cool.
It's like, but it's poetry, it rhymes.
What is that?
That's
what George Lucas said when he was making the prequel trilogy. Like,
that's right.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that connect to the originals.
That's right.
Yeah.
Anyway.
One of the best lines in all of these prequels is when Anakin's down on the ground in that scene, and he's just like the emotional power of him screaming, "I hate you."
Yeah.
That was magnificent. So he does dark side really, really well.
Hayden Christensen's a good actor.
That one split moment.
He doesn't do the light side terribly well because he's just so impertinent, so impatient, so like the whole time. I never really bought that he was going to be a Jedi. If we were supposed to buy that maybe he's going to be good, that kind of came up short. But he does dark good.
Split second that I love because I think it's super powerful too is when he's killing the Separatists. There's just a part he just yells, and it seems like it's a yell of pain, like he doesn't want to be killing the Separatists, and it's just that tiny moment.
I wish there would have been that moment when he was gonna kill the kids as well. I feel like I don't know, there's just so many, if we could just take a wrench and just turn it like a quarter turn, it would have been a masterpiece.
I mean, if they show his face, if they just show him crying, even that, like just
that,
CGI a tear on his face.
Any of that would have been.
You see the emotional distress he's in, but he still goes through with it.
That would have been a nice little touch. Okay, so here's the other thing. I was sitting next to my childhood friend, and we were 10 years old, but when he lights his lightsaber, he's like, I hate Anakin. And that's a real reaction.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, it's affecting the pathos and all, but that's a genuine reaction to watching that moment.
Yeah.
Anyway, Deets, let's get into the philosophy.
Well, we're already in it. I just have one other. So, I mean, obviously, the whole Star Wars saga is good versus evil, and it does a magnificent job separating the character traits that make someone evil versus the character traits that make someone good. So Dooku says you have hate, you have anger, but you don't use them. So hate and anger fit in this category.
Yeah.
Let's see. Palpatine says all who gain power are afraid to lose it. So the quest for power is evil. We got Anakin says, I want more and I shouldn't. So desire is over here. And so it's interesting to look at the world that we live in. Like, those are things that drive the people in the world that are controlling and moving things. They do it through hate. They do it through anger. They do it because of a quest for power, because they want more. And then Yoda has a couple of things that if we flip what he says, there are other clues. So the fear of loss is a path to the dark side. So fear is also a motivating force. And so taken as a whole, I think that this whole saga is like, we should be paying attention to this because we are allowing this to happen to us, to our society right now. We are allowing hate, fear, lust for power or other kinds of lust to drive our society. I mean, admittedly, this is fiction, but in a very real philosophical sense, this is not fiction.
Yeah.
We are allowing this to happen. We are going to have an Emperor Palpatine take over. If we don't stop it, if we don't allow the light side of the Force to have power, this is what we're headed for.
I see like society encouraging, like, go hard. Like, if you want money, you gotta work.
Yes.
But like also, but there is a big thing in a lot of schools, the grit thing. Like, where's your grit? Are you gonna work hard, double down? But like that feeds into is that necessarily bad to like
grit?
Work extra hard?
No, but it's what is the reason you're working hard? So are you working hard because you hate, because you're angry, because you want more power, more money, more sex, more whatever? If that's what your grit is leading to, I would say we are headed into the Empire.
And I think there's a huge market pushing, especially young men, that exact thing.
Yes.
Which I see in some of my students
Yes,
sometimes.
me too. And we're headed into the Empire. So the other side of if we want to use grit as the stand-in for the Force,
sure,
there is a dark side of grit, which we just talked about. There is also a light side of grit. Like grit in terms of, I know what's right and I'm not going to move. And I will do...
Like Captain America?
Yeah, I love Captain America. I will not be moved. Probably no surprise to anyone listening that I hate social media. And that is... What? Like, it could be such a powerful force for good. But if we're using just the dichotomy of the dark and the light, from my perspective, social media is almost entirely promoting the values of the dark side of the Force.
Yeah.
It's so scary to me. We have this great saga that shows us this is where it ends. But I guess we just view it as this is just a fictional thing. It's not real. It's not real life. History seems to bear out exactly what the Star Wars saga suggests will happen. Because it's happened over and over and over. We got Hitler, we got Attila the Hun, we've got the Mafia, they're all over. It's all over the place, and I don't know why we refuse to learn from history, and we refuse to learn from, great movies. We refuse to learn.
I mean, you bring up such a great point, because if you look at Star Wars, it's a story of, like, the underdog trying to throw off the evil shackles.
Yeah.
But when you look at real life, who would you call as, like, the overlord?
Social media.
But in real life, how many times do you see the little guy beat the like social media? Like, social media just wins.
Yep.
In this instance, but like, so we appreciate these stories, but you don't see people repeat these in real life. And then when they do, like, we have like these revolutionary like epics that we like revere in our history.
Yeah.
Like the American Revolutionary War. We revere that story because like we gained freedom.
Yeah. But I don't know, it's so frustrating as a critical thinker to sit here and we know where this is going. Like, we've been told it over and over. We've seen it over and over. Why can't we just not? Why can't we just not?
Well, okay.
Like, let's just be light. Let's just do what we know is going to lead
there's a great
to
philosophical...
happiness.
The prequels have this great philosophy that mostly is what Yoda said. In the first one, he brings up this whole thing like, you're afraid. And it's just like, well, fear leads to anger. Anger is to hate. Hate leads to suffering. Like, you see that pattern all the time. When a group of people are afraid of another group of people, the most common response is they're going to hate that people because they're afraid of them. Yeah. And so, I mean, we see that repeat over and over in history. When you're afraid, that does lead to anger. Anger leads to hate. And hate leads to general suffering. Like, the Rwandan genocide, newscasters asked the side that was causing the genocide, like, why do you hate them? Why do they fall apart? And the answer was, their noses are flatter. And it's just like, they're not that different from you. Why do you hate them so much?
Yep.
So I think that could lead to a manipulation by Palpatine.
Let's do it.
Like, along the way, I got some specific things. Like, the first scene, how he convinces Anakin to kill Dooku.
Because he says, kill him. It's like, no, that's not the Jedi way. Like,
but, like, it's almost like, how does someone get someone to do something they don't want to do. But then he's like, when they're leaving, besides killing Dooku, it's like, leave him or we'll never make it. That might make sense. Yeah, we got to carry a body around. So little things the entire time, like the story in the opera. It's like, let me tell you a story. It's like, give you reason to start doubting people you trust. Yeah. It's a different type of manipulation. It's not like, do this thing. It's like, have you ever thought about this specific thing I want you to think about? Until when he confronts him, it's like, you got to think about the dark side to understand the Force. So, there's a couple specific fallacies that he's using. Because Dietz has already pointed out many times how Palpatine's using ethos to affect Anakin's pathos. The emotion side. He knows he can do it.
Yep.
Like, if I make him worried about his wife, he'll like bend and stuff. But putting a name to a couple things that he uses, for example, hasty generalization. Making very broad claims based on inadequate evidence. That's one of the specific fallacies Palpatine's using here. It's like, oh, you need to do this to save your wife. Well, based on what? Like, these are just bad dreams Palpatine's probably inserting anyways, you know?
Yeah.
We also see false dichotomy, reducing an argument to only two options, even though there are more options.
Yeah.
Like, Anakin could have gotten help from Obi-Wan. He could have been patient and waited. No, it's either this or that. I need to save Palpatine or kill Mace Windu, basically. Yep. There are more options, Anakin. You just aren't thinking about that because he makes you think that. We also have appeal to ignorance. Because an idea can't be or hasn't been proven, it must be true or false.
Right.
The Force creating life. They don't know if it can or not.
Right.
Saying it's an option. I'm proving your point!
Yeah, I know. And that's so funny. Afterwards, it's like, I can help you save Padme. Then after he kills Mace Windu, he's like, together we can figure this out. And
right.
Sure.
Yeah. At that moment, if I was Anakin, I'd be like, oh, yeah, screw you, but...
Just stab you too.
Yep.
Oh, they kill each other.
Yep.
Go delete the cameras.
But he's not thinking
But he didn't even
stuff.
react to that. Like, that's the whole reason he changed.
But that's another way Palpatine's being sneaky. He's like, oh, I'm letting you know everything here. And I think Anakin's not realizing that, oh, he doesn't know. But I guess we can figure it out. He's like in a state of shock.
That might be, yeah.
Yeah, but then Palpatine's like, this is what we gotta do. The Jedi, we gotta kill the Jedi, we gotta kill the Separatists.
And he doesn't even blink an eye.
I know.
Like, oh, yeah.
I think that's all part of the manipulation.
Maybe. Yeah.
Well, because that is part of the manipulation, because during the movie, the Jedi ask him to spy on Palpatine, and Palpatine guesses it immediately. They asked you to spy on me, didn't they? And Palpatine's open with him about it, and Anakin mistrusts the Jedi because they're asking him to do stuff he doesn't want to do.
And that's part of...
Like
Anakin's not thinking.
Like, if Jedi are good, why am I spying on the Chancellor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then Padme's supposed to bring the sense, and she doesn't. It's like, he's been in office way too long. Like, he has too much power.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, Padme's smart. Listen to her.
Yeah. See, that whole... Like, when did Padme lose the relationship? Like, that needed to be there. Why would he trust this old senator guy over his wife? Like, I don't... Anyhow.
See, there's also a deleted scene that Ryan brought up where, like, Padme's talking with the Chancellor, and Anakin's there with him.
Like, standing behind Palpatine.
Yeah. And like, the silhouette kind of, like, shows, like, Vader and Emperor. Like,
right.
the visual silhouette, but then, like, the opposite shot is, though, it's Padme with other senators bringing up their grievances, like, hey, we have qualms with what's happening right now.
Right.
So.
And, like, I think in that deleted scene, Palpatine says, these senators, we can't trust them. But one of them says wife. In that deleted scene. I mean, I don't know. That's
yeah,
in that conversation he has with Padme when he's like, don't ask me to do that. You're right.
Right.
Anyhow. It's not...
I hadn't realized that was an issue for me until just now.
But it is an issue with the movie.
I know, it is. They did not develop Padme's character well in the third movie.
Yeah.
And one final fallacy that I wanted to point out was post hoc. Since event Y followed event X, Y must have caused X.
Right.
And that's what Palpatine's like, hey, he cut off your arm, he needed to get his head cut off. It's all those different ways of manipulation.
Right.
And that's why, listener, if you are familiar with rhetoric, you can watch out for things that are trying to convince you.
Yep. Exactly. I agree. 100%.
Think critically.
Think critically. So in terms of ethics, but it really just boils down to, interestingly enough, after going through all the Marvel where they use utilitarian ethics in a bad way, that's really what's going on here, but in reverse. So the Jedi want what's best for everyone, utilitarian, but Palpatine, he uses loyalist ethics against Anakin. So we see the loyalist versus the utilitarian again, but in this case, it's the utilitarian that should have won out. But because Palpatine's just such a great rhetorician and he knows how to use language, he ends up choosing the loyalist, which then he doesn't, because he chokes her to death, or chokes her almost to death, or whatever.
Yeah,
So
that's one thing maybe
I
don't
didn't really
buy
get either. Yeah.
Him being jealous of Obi-Wan, that's also not well done. You lie! You brought him here to kill me!
Yeah, I didn't, that whole scene did not play for me.
Because there's one vision.
This is his wife.
He's got a nightmare when she's suffering and Obi-Wan's there. I think that was supposed to be like the seeds being planted.
Yeah,
it's not well
Yeah.
done.
Anyhow.
I will do what I must. You will try. There's a lot of good lines in this movie.
There's a lot of good in this movie. This could have been the best Star Wars movie. But
that's high praise coming from you.
That is really
it
good.
is.
You've seen the original trilogy.
But just the raw power of this movie is not matched by any of the three originals.
Yeah. Anyway, my real final note is there's a line that I never really picked up until this time. Padme says the line, "This war represents a failure to listen." Because it's been, 3 years of a war, basically. Everyone's just sick of this war. It's been 6
years between episode 2 and 3.
How do you guys know all of this stuff?
Here,
this is crazy.
Like, but it's not just the prequels. Even the original series. All like, for example, when you see the bounty hunters, fans know all of their names and all their histories. Wow. It's just they're besides books and things. It was just that's part of the magic of Star Wars. Like, you want to know this guy's story? He has one. And
like
it doesn't.
All of the people?
Yeah,
in the movie?
Almost everyone.
Pretty much.
That's why it doesn't work so well in the sequels.
So, here's a fun one that, just to prove Ryan's point, when Obi-Wan and Yoda go to the Jedi Temple and clear out the clones, you see a hologram of Anakin fighting.
Yeah.
The Jedi Master he's fighting's name is Sin Drawling.
Okay.
And fun fact, that's the stunt coordinator who trained all the Jedi how to fight, the actors. And they made a whole fight of him fighting Hayden Christensen, because Hayden Christensen is just like a natural fighter. Like he picked up a lightsaber, he could just naturally do.
Oh wow!
Like, he's just really good at it naturally. And they did a whole film, and you just see a small snippet right there. But but in the story, that's the Jedi Grand armorer. Like, he's the one who trains all the Jedi.
Oh,
and he's the stunt coordinator who trained all the actors.
Cool.
I mean, it comes from some of the TV shows, from the books, some of the video games, but we were born in the perfect time to be in this.
We grew up watching the original trilogy. We grew up the right time to watch the new trilogy in theaters.
Yeah.
And then we saw the sequel series when that came out in theaters.
Yeah.
Well, it's like being a kid in that era is and parents are willing to give you stuff about it. I was like, yeah, I'll learn about this. You got me toys about it.
Yeah.
So.
But anyway, back to the line.
Sorry.
This war represents a failure to listen, which I think is only more true now in real life than it was 20 years ago when this movie came out. If we could just listen, so many problems would be solved, but it's hard. And then some degrees,
Well,
why?
that was the issue with the first episode, because people were talking too much, nothing was getting done. That's why the Trade Federation could put a blockade around Naboo.
Bureaucracy.
I hate you. Yeah. Anyhow, but we can see it in real life, like you said. Now we have just almost complete polarization in the United States.
Yeah.
And if you sit down and look at it critically, the issues are not that far apart, but somehow, I know how. The algorithms have made very small differences in opinion into canyons of difference.
That's why a lot of pundits say we're in a cold civil war, because it's not actual war, but it kind of feels like
it's coming.
So
it is coming.
Anyway,
unless we start thinking critically, folks. So
Star Wars.
I love that you liked this one.
I did like it.
Okay, so listener, Jason is about to tell us the Jason's choice for next week. We're giving him a Star Wars break. We're doing the two standalones. Solo first, and then Rogue One. And then Jason's choice, then the original trilogy. So that's our next 4 weeks.
Cool.
All right. Oh yeah, fun fact about this. This is the one live-action Star Wars movie that did not receive an Academy Award nomination or award for visual effects.
Really?
Every other live-action Star Wars movie has a nomination or a win for visual effects. This is the only one without
bizarre.
one. The winner of this year was King Kong. But
that's your King Kong?
Yeah,
that
that's
love?
Ryan's King Kong, but this one was not even nominated.
Huh. That's bizarre.
Ooh, I got another fun fact, Easter egg of the reel. George Lucas and his family appear in this movie.
Oh.
When Anakin's running into the opera, George Lucas is painted blue. He's standing by the door.
Oh, cool.
And like his daughter's in it. His son is the one that jumps in and saves Organa, I think, because that's his son.
Yep.
Anyway, his family's in it. At one point, you could have bought an action figures of the George Lucas family.
Really?
In like a box and everything. I kid you not.
All right, is there a food of the reel?
The dessert of the reel... I don't think they eat anything in this movie.
Well, I mean, we could go with Samuel L. Jackson eats his lightsaber and flies out into space. That's like the Uber dessert. That's like the lava cake on top of the lava cake dessert.
I think Obi-Wan might give a treat to his ride. That might be a thing.
Yeah.
That's not much of a dessert, but...
No, he gives the treat to Samuel L. Jackson.
I have a recommendation of the reel. Mark and I just saw the new Nosferatu.
Oh, is it good?
I liked it a lot.
Is it like
I did
good? Like good?
Oh,
I think so.
I think it is.
But when you were talking about how Star Wars is good versus evil, and Nosferatu, that's not the character's name, is Count Orlok / Dracula. Epitome of evil.
Right.
Like he kills people. He's a vampire. There's a line in the new movie that says, we all have evil in us. It's up to us to like get rid of our evil, basically. That connects to this movie with, be good, go to the light side. And because that one's new and topical, I'll say that Nosferatu, getting rid of the evilness.
Yeah.
The director of the new one said, it's not the first horror movie ever made, but it's the first one that really mattered, basically.
Yeah.
What's your recommendation of the real, Mark?
Ooh, for Revenge of the Sith? For movies that are very recent, that are very similar in themes with Anakin Skywalker, I would say Dune. So the Part 1, Part 2. I'm a huge fan of the Dune movies, because I love the book.
I'm a huge fan of the book.
I love the book, too. I would also just, if you want more like historical, the Mediterranean from a few years ago. So it's about how a guy got into Guantanamo Bay and his experiences there, and how some attorneys were trying to get him out. So it stars
I've never heard of it.
It stars Tahar Rahim is the main star. He's a rising, but it's Jodie Foster, Benedict Cumberbatch.
Wait, Jodie Foster?
Yeah, she's the main actress.
Benedict
She's
Cumberbatch?
my favorite actress of all time.
Yeah, so I'll recommend the Mediterranean from 2021. Mauritian.
At least they named it something people can remember.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's the prequels in all of its glory.
I don't think I would use that word, but
well, like I said,
all
the
of
first
its
one, you were out of the discussion of all this.
I was.
There's been many loud voices, like loud naysayers for many years, like yelling at the prequels.
Would they ever let someone remake this movie?
No.
Okay.
Well, if Disney wanted to make money, they would.
Yeah.
Because if
Okay,
they
so
gave it to somebody that...
This is a rumor.
they give it to Chris Nolan and he remakes this, it would be the greatest movie ever made.
It might be. There is a rumor that there is over 4 hours worth of footage filmed for this movie, and that it exists somewhere as a 4.5 hour cut.
Oh wow!
And like the actor who did like General Grievous is the one who watched it. He says it's amazing. But he also says
I
there's
might
like
even watch that.
He even says there's a 6 hour cut of Phantom Menace that has a lot
I
more
would
backstory.
never watch that.
So I mean,
But they say
there is
that-
potential
but they
that there
even
might
say-
be a release of more of this movie that actually gives time. And,
That would be awesome.
Did they even say that about Rise of Skywalker though? Like,
yeah,
with
so
the
I mean
3 hour
that's
cut?
probably a rumor at this point. Might be hearsay, but
We'll never get that. I think Disney should release an extended cut with at least the deleted scenes.
so
I think
next year is the 20th anniversary. I'm expecting a re-release in theaters.
that might be cool.
2025.
Okay, Jason's Choice is not a great movie. It's not even really a good movie.
Why would you like this movie?
But it's a movie that brings me immense joy.
So-
It's called Mystery Men. In hindsight, we should have done this when we were doing Marvel. Anyhow, basically the idea behind it is these are the second tier superheroes, and they have superpowers that are really kind of absurd. So
I've never
it's
seen
got
Mystery
Ben
Men.
Stiller, it's got William H. Macy, it's got Janeane Garofalo, it's got it's got Pee Wee Herman, and I love it. It makes me laugh every time I watch it, and it brings me joy.
We
So,
should have watched it for Marvel.
We should have. Just don't go into it trying to be all. That doesn't make sense.
I'm going
It's
into it
intentionally
expecting
absurd.
a good movie.
It's intentionally absurd. Just that's all.
All right,
We
love
love
you.
Bye.
Bye.